Park Ranger Laura Lee McKellips is standing in the museum at the Visitor Center at Kennesaw Mountain. Behind her is an informational panel with a map of the United States focused in on the states of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. There's a red line from Atlanta, Georgia to Savannah, Georgia, then going north to Columbia, South Carolina, and then going northeast through the rest of South Carolina up through North Carolina, ending at Raleigh.
Hi, I'm Ranger Laura Lee, and this is video 5, the last video in the Shadow of a Man Sherman series. So we'll recap from 1864. We have Sherman's Atlanta campaign and his march to the sea, and that gets him to his present location for the start of 1865. Now, General Lee is still plaguing Grant in the Eastern Theater. He's still moving out of the way, not really forcing too much going on because he's losing men as well. But we're going to move back to the Western Theater where Sherman is. Now, Sherman is currently in the city of Savannah, and beside me you'll see the map that I'm going to be referring for this video. So he's in the city of Savannah. Now, he is planning his next march. This will be his Carolina campaign. Which will be going north through the states of South Carolina, North Carolina, and where he'll eventually end up in North Carolina. So he is, he's radioed ahead, or not radio, but he is telegraphed ahead and told them this is his plan. Now, Grant's initial plan was for him to take steamer ships and come up and join him that way against Lee. But Sherman's idea was to march. And the reason he wants to march is because he is going to destroy, much as Meridian, Mississippi, and his march to the sea, he destroyed anything of Confederate value or use to the Confederates. That is what he's going to do in the states of North and South Carolina. Now, as he marches his men north, he gives no quarter. They are to destroy whatever is within their reach. Now, as he's going through South Carolina, he is pretty much saying they deserve what they're getting because South Carolina was the first to succeed. That's where they are firing on Fort Sumter, and they deserve the brunt of it because they're the reason why they have the Civil War, this past 4 years of battle, all these heavy casualties for the Union is because of South Carolina. So he will march his men north. Now, as he's going through there, the Confederates are convinced he is going to the city of Columbia, South Carolina. They don't know this for sure, but they are convinced. So they almost abandon that city, leaving behind the freed black men, leaving behind just merchants. As they enter into Columbia, it's almost a ghost town for Confederates, but they are there. They are, Sherman doesn't rein his men in there either, so they start destroying more, especially the plantation homes. On from Columbia, he will march through the rest of that swampy bottoms. Now, it's taken him a while. His ultimate goal, like I said, is North Carolina. So he's going to swing through, come through North Carolina. As he goes through, Johnston is there trying to stop Sherman's advance through there. But up until this point, Sherman's not really seen any of the Confederates. Now, they will have advance for the Confederates. They will stop Sherman's picket men, the ones who are going ahead of the army, trying to make sure everything's okay. And they are encountering like timber over the roads. They're encountering bridges being burned. Now, as Sherman's going through, his men are also building bridges because they need a way to get the wagons and the artillery across at the same time that they are the infantry. So they are building bridges as they come through. So not only are they destroying things, they are building things for their army use. Now they're coming through, Johnston's there. It's not too much because he doesn't have the men to go against Sherman at this point as they swing through. Now we're getting into April at this point. And April 9th is when Lee will finally surrender to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse, takes those surrender terms. April 14th, another important date, President Abraham Lincoln is fatally shot in Ford's Theater by the Confederate sympathizer John Wilkes Booth. In this same time, you have Johnston there who is sending surrender terms and truce terms to Sherman. It will not be until April 26th that those surrender terms will be accepted. It takes a while for them to hammer out the terms. They didn't think Lee's terms should go for all the other armies because when Lee surrendered, not every Confederate surrendered. But once Lee does, you will have the other Confederate generals start surrendering, which will signal the end to the war. Now, they marched. It took Sherman 50 days to march those 425 miles. This Carolina march is more important to him than even that march to the sea because, like I said, South Carolina, he felt deserved the brunt of the Union forces there because they're the ones who started it all. And now the war is over, and they're accepting as these Confederate troops start surrendering. They're going home. They're starting to dispatch their men. Now, Grant will continue after the war. He will continue writing memoirs, answering questions, especially some of his earlier tactics, such as his Kentucky campaign, him saying he was insane. He will continue answering those with newspaper articles and just writing to them, defending his actions and defending Grant's actions during the Civil War, especially that famous March to the Sea and his Carolina March. And on February 14th of 1891, General Sherman will bow to the inevitable. He actually dies in his home in New York, and they will send him, and he is buried in Missouri overlooking the Mississippi River. And this concludes the Shadow of a Man Sherman series. We hope that you enjoyed these 5 videos. We hope that you join us next time for our next video series. Thank you.